Hello everyone, welcome back to part 3 of my Cloudy River oil painting instructional video series. Today I will be showing you how to do the tree highlights for this painting as well as the reflection in the water below. Okay, I'm going to start out here with some cadmium yellow and a bit of permanent green and just maybe a touch of ultramarine blue, and we're going to put that together, and I'm just tapping with a 1/2-inch brush there. And in the last video, we put down that darker greenish brown color for the background color on the trees already, and I'm just laying in these highlights over top of it. Now, I don't want to do it too thickly. Actually, I think I've gone a little bit overboard with what I'm doing and put a little bit too much green in front of that tree trunk there. We really want it to be kind of sparsely put in. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go back and add in a little bit more of that background color over top of my highlight so it looks a little bit more realistic. We want it to be a little bit sparse. Now I'm going to be adding in these bushes here as well as the trees, the tree leaves at the same time because they're going to be similar in color and texture. This is like a summer painting. I've added the same color. It's still the same color mixture of permanent green, cadmium yellow, and a touch of blue. And I want to tell you quickly what my palette is for this oil painting. It is ultramarine blue, burnt umber, soft mixing white, cadmium yellow, permanent green, yellow ochre, and lemon yellow. Speaking of lemon yellow, here it comes. There's some lemon yellow mixed with some permanent green. And again, just tapping very loosely, putting those tree highlights in. And I'm being sure to create a nice composition by pushing those tree highlights up into the clouds because I want some of that sky to shine through the leaves, which is realistic. So I'm making sure I extend my tree line a little bit higher than it was before. Okay, again, just tapping, adding in these bushes, and then adding as well the tree highlights. I'm going to go back here, a little bit darker. Now it's important, as I said, while you're applying these to just take and tap your brush on your palette to load it, and then you're going to go back and you're going to very gently again here tapping. I'm using a smaller round brush there, probably like a 3 or a 4, not very large. And I'm going to go in here and in the distance start tapping and adding in a tree line extending backwards. And you'll notice there it's a lighter color. It's a little bit more of the cadmium yellow that has been added to it to make it a little bit brighter. This is sort of a process of putting in some color, maybe adding a little bit more of the background color to it, and then going back and adding in some more color. And I want to make sure that I have some of my tree trunks covered partially by the leaves. You wouldn't see the entire tree trunk. You would see a little bit of it, and some of it would be covered. And the best way to sort of observe how this is working is to go outside, look at some trees, and look at the leaf patterns and where do they cover, where is the tree trunk visible. Now I've gone a little bit overboard with that. I think it's a little bit too much of the green. I need more of the background color, like I said. So I'm going to go back in and add some of that in a moment. We really want our trees to look fairly realistic, and I'm actually basing this painting on my experiences living in Texas and some of the rivers that were near where I lived. So when I'm looking at this sort of mess of leaves and underbrush and things like that, I'm thinking back to my personal experiences walking along, say, the San Marcos River in Texas. I'm going to add some of that background color. That is a mixture of ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and just a touch of the green. And you can see I want some depth to these trees so that you're almost looking through into a darker thicket behind. Remember, we're sort of layering the dark background color, a mid-tone green color, and then some pops of the lighter lemony, brighter cadmium yellow to really make it shine. Now I'm taking my palette knife, sort of digging it into the side of my bank here, and then scraping straight downward to create some beautiful watery reflections from the bank sort of extending down. Yep, I'm going to do it again here on this side, and we can start beginning to add in the green of the trees into the water itself. I am holding my palette knife rather firmly and scraping fairly hard straight downwards, as I said. It really gives a nice mirrored effect on the water. I'm going to add a bit of yellow ochre there, and I'm looking at my tree trunk there on the left hand side, and you can see there's some yellow ochre in that tree trunk, so you want to add a little bit of it below. I may go back in and add a little bit of the bank color to it on top of it, and I just did that, and that is a mixture of burnt umber and soft mixing white together to create that lighter brown. Nothing I'm doing here is terribly complicated. It's mostly tapping and then stepping back and looking at the painting and then making some adjustments and then going back in and tapping a few more spots here and there. I want to keep it simple. I'm not compelled to go in and add every little leaf. It's not how it works. We're just creating the impression of all the leaves by tapping them in. Okay, here using a mixture of the permanent green and a little bit of the lemon yellow, I'm going to start adding in some reflection colors into the water. That whole white bottom half is the exposed canvas there, and that's all going to be filled in with a beautiful light blue and some clouds, and of course the reflection of the actual trees in the water. So don't worry, that will all be filled in eventually. It's just a process of slowly covering the canvas. And in all my paintings, I typically will start in the background and work forward. I find that the result is just better that way. It gives me a sort of an order to what I'm doing, and I really like that approach. If I'm looking at my light source, it's kind of cloudy, so it's going to be a dispersed light, but I'm really thinking about a shaft of light is sort of hitting the leftmost side of the right-hand bank, and there's light is hitting the rightmost side of the left-hand bank. Does that make sense? Let me say that one more time. So the light is hitting the highlight color. The brightest parts need to be on the left side of the trees if it's on the right bank. And then the brightest parts of the trees need to be on the right side of the left-hand bank. Basically, everything pushing towards the center, I want to have it be brighter. And in the far distance, we're going to have a nice ray of sun is sort of coming down through the clouds and illuminating the distant foliage back there. Add in that background color to how far down I want to extend this tree line, and then I'm going to add some highlights on top of it, just like I did above. Whatever I do onto the trees themselves, I want to mimic and copy that exactly straight down my canvas into the water to create a realistic looking effect. And if you look at water, you would think, oh, I'll just paint blue and there I go. But actually, realistic looking water is almost like a mirror. It really reflects a lot of the colors above it. So if I have green above, I need green in my water to make it look extremely beautiful, compelling, and of course, realistic. A few more touches here of some lighter colors, and you can see now it's starting to take shape. I have enough dark on that right hand bank where it looks like the leaves are sort of covering some of the shadows, but there's enough light there so that it looks like it's actually green, not just this dark blob of brownish, blackish color. Okay, some lighter lemony yellow mixed with some permanent green, more lemon yellow than green, and you can see as I'm pointing, I'm just matching. So wherever I see some lighter greens, I'm going to put it above, I'm pointing above and putting it below, and I'm using a very small sort of little paintbrush there, maybe a liner brush to fill it in. Okay, here's the fun part. Take your palette knife and just scrape straight down on some of these reflections, and it will give it a smeared look. We don't want it to be matched exactly. We just need it to be close, a good approximation. And then we can take our palette knife and scrape downward once we get going here and really get all our colors in there. I'm going to add a little bit more of the mid-tone green, medium color green, not too light but not too dark either. Touch more of the permanent. Here is some more of the background color, and again I'm just matching what's happening above. If you look straight above, there's that darker patch right in the center of that tree, so I'm going to make sure I add that below. Okay, adding in some of the lemon yellow highlights, again sort of matching. Back there you can see all those beautiful lemon yellow colors in the far distant trees. They're reflected of course in the water. Okay, here's that scraping I was talking about earlier, scraping straight down to get that beautiful reflected look. Yeah, isn't that cool looking? It becomes like glass and it becomes very mirrored. And I'm just, oops, jiggle the camera there, sorry about that. Alright, stop it. Okay, there we go. And there we are. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, so nice. Few more touches of lemon yellow in the far distance, maybe a bit of the cadmium, and I'm just matching now. So as you can notice in the background, I had a lot of that lemony yellow, maybe a bit of the cadmium in there. In the far background trees, in the reflection, I mean, there was a lot of that lighter yellow color, so I wanted to bring up the yellow in the background trees a bit more so that it matched better. Okay, well, we are nearly done here with this part. See how easy that was? Just 3 or 4 colors. A bit of tapping here and there. Again, don't kill all your darks. You need some darks. So if you go too much, it's not a big deal. Too much with the highlight color, I mean, it's not a big deal. Just go back, grab your big brush, and just tap and add a few more darker areas like I'm doing here. And it will immediately improve the painting and improve the look of the whole thing. Also, I've noticed that typically, because of the way shadows work and things like that, in the water, it's going to be a touch darker in the water. Now that's, if it's exactly the same, then that's fine. It will look good enough. If you really want to be exact, you can take it all the way and make it slightly darker like I am doing here. But you don't have to. You can just make it match, and that's good enough. You see there, I was putting a little bit of the yellow ochre to kind of reflect that tree, the tree trunk there. And you know what? After thinking about it, I said, you know what? I don't want to do that. So I'm going to add a bit more of the green, the lighter green. I'm just going to scrape it down here, and maybe a little bit more of the background color on top of it to slow it down a bit. But I decided, you know what? Yeah, there it goes. This is not working the way I want, so I don't want to do that. Yeah, there we go, and voila, back to normal. So this concludes part 3 of this instructional series. I will be back with part 4 of how to paint my Cloudy River painting. Be sure to check out my blog at impulsiveartistry.blogspot.com. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, on my Facebook page, and check out my Etsy shop where I sell all of my artwork. There will be links to these in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a fantastic, artistic, and creative day. Thanks!